Both WrestleMania 36 Part 1 and 2 are in the books, and yeah, it was super weird. But amidst Undertaker fighting the Dark Order, John Cena fighting John Cena, and still easily the strangest thing, double Gronk, it seems one of the weekend's sweetest feel-good moments is getting lost. Otis finally defeating Dolph Ziggler to win the Mandy Rose Championship. Disclaimer, no women were contractually up for grabs in the Otis vs Dolph Ziggler match. Sonya and Dolph as Otis's tormentors was revealed on Friday's Go Home episode of SmackDown, where the mysterious hacker character teased for weeks exposed their plot to break him up with Mandy Rose, uncovering the truth about Sonya Deville and Dolph Ziggler's heinous plans, displaying them for all to see. And it seems the storyline is set to continue, with Sonya's Twitter account being hacked yesterday. Her profile picture and banner were removed, replaced with blank colours, and a tweet went out that said which sounds like the vocal component of summoning a devil. Sonya Deville! Deville. When flipped upside down though, the tweet reads, "All is fair in love and war, the truth will be heard." The hack itself was only visible on Sonya Deville's Twitter page for a few minutes before being reverted, with any existence of the post being removed. We're just one Tiger video away from this being an excellently built social media feud. But it wasn't just Otis getting the feel-good treatment at WrestleMania, as Braun Strowman defeated Goldberg for the Universal Championship, Edge defeated Randy Orton in a match that might still be going on, and Drew McIntyre became the new WWE Champion by beating uber heel Brock Lesnar. Just like last year's WrestleMania, with Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch and Kofi Kingston all winning, the results saw more babyface wins to appease the crowd, or lack of crowd. Even Charlotte Flair won, beating Rhea Ripley for the NXT title on night 2, and she's the biggest babyface in the whole company. There have been multiple reports from WrestlingNews.co and Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer that this was a conscious decision by Vince McMahon, as he wanted WrestleMania to be a distraction from the real world, and wanted the overall tone of the show to have a feeling of positivity, which is also why any mention of Steve Corino was banned, even when they probably really should have mentioned it to explain why Reigns, The Miz and more weren't anywhere to be seen. Vince McMahon putting his audience first. It truly is a strange new world, and one which might involve more movie-based wrestling matches instead of in-ring ones. Yes, please. Now WrestleMania is over, the many details and backstage stories that many crew and talent had to keep bottled up inside them, as any spoiler leaks were to be punishable by firing, are now coming out. Like with one of the weekend's most well-received matches, the Boneyard match between Undertaker and AJ Styles. One of the most bonkers and out there WWE matches ever, until the Firefly Funhouse the next night. For all those who compared the Boneyard match with Broken Matt Hardy's Final Deletion matches, you've just identified what film studies describes as auteur theory. Like Martin Scorsese, Jean-Luc Godard, and Alfred Hitchcock, you can tell who's directed a movie based on its authorship style. And as behind-the-scenes photos have revealed, Matt Hardy's Broken Universe director from Impact Wrestling, Jeremy Borash, who's now a backstage producer in NXT, was very hands-on with the filming of the Boneyard match. And What Culture has revealed even more details about the film. The shoot reportedly took 8 hours to film overnight, from 9 p.m. on March 25th to 5 a.m. on March 26th, and WWE hired an outside company to create the set, which took 5 days to make. WWE reportedly wanted to use an abandoned ditch, bridge and roadside for The Undertaker's entrance, but they couldn't receive a permit in time since it was city property. Interestingly, the trash talk between Undertaker and Styles wasn't in the original script, but Styles and Taker both requested to improvise some dialogue, and Triple H, who was also very hands-on with the project, obliged, encouraging both of them to do as much talking as they pleased, which was 100% worth it to hear Undertaker say, "Son of a bitch," after he elbowed a car window. He's so badass. And it was reportedly The Undertaker who came up with the final shot of AJ's hand poking up through the grave. Apparently, Triple H and other producer Michael Hayes found a prop hand lying around the set and were trying to find a way to get it in, and Taker suggested they dress it up like AJ and have it poking out the ground. Again, 100% right decision. I love the match. And so did everyone else, with the match receiving widespread acclaim from fans and industry members alike, with Mick Foley requesting to be in the next one, and Chris Jericho tweeting, "Congrats to Undertaker and AJ Styles for the tremendous performance and spectacle that was the Boneyard match. I loved it." It's a complete turnaround from the last few years of Undertaker criticism, with nearly everyone, myself included, thinking he shouldn't have come out of retirement for his terrible matches against DX and Goldberg. The latter of which ESPN's Mark Raimondi reports Undertaker specifically felt like he had to redeem himself for. And we actually have Kurt Angle to thank for the dead man's opponent, as Kurt reportedly suggested AJ last year to Taker, as it'll be the best match he's had in years. Nah, it should have been Baron Corbin. WrestleMania's other movie match of The Fiend versus John Cena versus John Cena versus John Cena versus Bray Wyatt versus Vince McMahon versus John Cena versus Hulk Hogan versus John Cena was just as brilliant. I genuinely think it's a 6-star match. Watch my WrestleMania Part 2 review for my full thoughts on that, and we now know how it came about backstage. According to WrestlingNews.co, Vince McMahon loved it as soon as he saw it, and even approved the "It's such good S-word" line from his puppet version in the match, which is a direct reference to Jon Moxley's Shoot Talk is Jericho podcast from last year, when the former Dean Ambrose did an impersonation of when Vince likes something backstage. The match itself was filmed by the WWE crew in Stamford, Connecticut, while the Boneyard match was done by the NXT crew in Orlando, Florida. As was reported beforehand, the main source of creative input came from Bray Wyatt himself. These two cinematic and heavily edited matches were probably the most well received on the whole weekend's card, and Triple H doesn't think they're going to stop there. In an interview with TV Guide, Trips had this to say about more out-of-the-box ideas. "The opportunity of doing these shows without fans and doing WrestleMania with these off-site shoots will open our eyes to different ways of doing things that we maybe didn't see before, and will change the product probably for the better in the long run." Boneyard 2 Bone Harder match confirmed. Before WrestleMania aired, though, there were several reports of backstage talent being deeply unhappy the show was still going ahead, with Vince McMahon as the only person who thought it was a good idea. Wade Keller of PW Torch reports, though, that once the talent arrived for the intense 2 days of tapings, their mood changed, and the wrestlers didn't treat it like a Saudi Arabia show where they just have to get through it, but that they wanted to make the most of a bad situation, and everyone really wanted to work hard and try to make this work. Keller also noted there was no resentment from the WWE talent he spoke to, with them all just wanting to try and salvage as much of the show as they could. And that really does come across, as despite all the circumstances, WWE managed to put together a great WrestleMania with some incredible matches and awesome moments. The wrestlers and crew may need to maintain that attitude for a little while longer, though, as Steve Corino is still working over the entire world. Even though WWE advertised Money in the Bank on May 10th, it's not expected that event will go ahead as planned, with it likely again taking place from the Performance Center. President Trump actually held a conference call with the heads of various professional sports over the weekend, including Vince McMahon and UFC President Dana White. While the details of the call have not yet been revealed, Trump himself has commented saying, "I just spoke with the commissioners and leaders of, I would say, virtually all the sports leagues. They want to get back. They've got to get back. They can't do this. Their sports weren't designed for it. The whole concept of our nation wasn't designed for it. We're going to have to get back. We want to get back soon, very soon." Wrestling Observer Radio then revealed Trump told McMahon he's aiming for arena shows to be attended to by the public by August. And he's planning on tax breaks and doing incentives to get people to buy tickets to events, as citizens will be a combination of still scared to attend large gatherings and too poor from losing their jobs. Dave Meltzer described it as Trump's support my favorite billionaires drive, as the president and McMahon are close personal friends, with Vince's wife Linda being the single largest donor to Trump's 26 campaign, which landed her a job as the head of the Small Business Administration, and now the chairwoman of America First Action, which is a pro-Trump super PAC. PAC being a political action committee used to raise funds for US elections, not the Geordie AEW wrestler. It might pay to have friends in the highest of places, as it's implied WWE might ignore statewide total lockdown orders to continue making shows. WWE have already pre-taped both tonight's episode of Raw and Wednesday's episode of NXT, but they'll run out of content for Friday's episode of SmackDown. The state of Florida, which is where WWE have been filming at the Performance Center, had a stay-at-home order that was meant to finish on April 9th, meaning WWE would be able to film April 10th's SmackDown as planned. But now the total lockdown has been extended until April 30th, meaning WWE won't be able to record anything for almost a month. According to Wrestling Observer Radio, though, WWE is still planning on taping this week's episode of SmackDown by ignoring the lockdown order and recording from a secret location. WWE are keeping the location of the taping secret, but Meltzer notes it is definitely within a state that is on lockdown. AEW, meanwhile, have been shut down indefinitely starting from last Friday, where Georgia state officials even attended tapings to make sure they adhered to regulations and were finished by the time the total lockdown order came into effect on Thursday night. And also probably because they're huge Orange Cassidy marks. AEW will reportedly not be recording any more shows until restrictions lift, which could be months from now, putting their Double or Nothing show on May 23rd in serious doubt. Meltzer notes, however, that they did manage to film the entire TNT title tournament for the next 6 weeks of TV. A huge thank you to all the wrestling promotions that provided footage for our Indie Mania 2-day event over the weekend, and an even bigger thank you to all of your t-shirt orders, super chats, and GoFundMe donations that have raised thousands of dollars to be split equally amongst all those promotions fighting for survival. But even with Indie Mania over, you can still support the industry by buying a t-shirt at WrestleTalkMerch.com or by donating at our Support Wrestling GoFundMe. Click the links in the video description below to learn more. John Cena vs. The Fiend is 6 stars! Watch my WrestleMania 36 Part 2 review by clicking the video on the right, and find out Adam Blompier and Luke Owen's thoughts on Part 1 by clicking the WrestleTalk podcast video beneath that. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.